morning. Hello and welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living Palm Desert's Conversations with the All for One team. I'm so pleased to welcome all of you to our virtual platform today. My name is Gail Morton, and we are the All for One team, bringing you today's conversations. Our topic this morning being authored by William Conway. So if you're joining us for the first time, I invite you to visit our website at www.cslpalmdesert.org, where you will find all kinds of information about the groups and activities that are available to you right here at our Center for Spiritual Living, Palm Desert. We are motivated by a global vision, meaning our vision incorporates everyone. It's a vision of a healthy, loving world. And everything we share here is about that. In this virtual setting today, I am confident that somewhere between the invocation, today's topic, our conversations, simply everything that takes place in this virtual setting, that something is perfect for you, perfect for your soul and where you are on your spiritual journey. So welcome. In preparation for today's conversations, please join me as I pray us in with an invocation. Closing your eyes, if comfortable, or perhaps lowering your gaze, please take a deep, cleansing breath as you are reminded to breathe in the divine spirit. For it is nearer than the earth, nearer than the air you are breathing, and nearer than the room in which you are sitting. In this sacred place of belonging, I begin by recognizing this now moment, this beautiful, amazing, present moment. And then I recognize divine energy, this brilliance, this love, this lovingness that is everywhere present. I am so grateful to know that this aliveness of being is the very essence of all that is, and it is the only thing that is going on. And so I know this time together today is a time of joy, of harmony, of peace, and of love. It's a time to learn something new and amazing, a time to take something beautiful into each and every heart that will continue to grow as the days grow forward. I bless each person here knowing every mind and heart is exactly where it needs to be, and every word spoken will speak to each mind and heart in a perfect way. Please join me in saying, and so it is. So every week, we like to invite you to learn a little more about each one of us. And we do this through posing and then each of us answering an introductory question. So this week's question, authored again by our very own William Conway, is this: life is always changing, sometimes dramatically. How do you stay in the flow of spirit? Well, William, that's a great question, and actually caused me to do some thinking before I could answer it. So I decided that my answer today is that yes, I agree, everything is always changing in my external world, but in my internal world, where the time is always now, I stay in the flow of spirit by staying open to its wisdom and by knowing that every moment is simply a new now, and so on into eternity. It's always now. Cheryl, how about you?
Well, I know that I will like the way that he says that sometimes things change dramatically. And at those times, it's really easy to go back into that place of fear or, not really understanding what's going on and then feeling that confusion. And I do that. I'm not perfect. I admit it. It's easy to say. But what I always like to do to get back into the flow of spirit is to just recognize that whatever's appearing and whatever's going on, it needs to occur. Whatever it's something in the divine order of things that is my life, it needs to occur in order for me to grow. And so no matter how dramatic it is, I might get caught up in the passion of that moment, but only for a little while now. It's not something that I automatically go to, but when I do, I find myself sometimes going to that place. I just recognize that I'm a spiritual being. I'm here to express God. And so whatever is occurring, I become what Lao Tzu says, the observer, and just observe what's going on and not trying to decipher it or explain it or anything like that, just to observe it and know that it is just part of my growth. And when I go there, it really makes a big difference in when the drama occurs. And I can just step back from the drama then. It's not something I want to get immersed in anymore. I'm just the observer. So, all right, let's go to Dale. What do you think, Dale?
Well, I love what you just said because I'm all about the observer. And I guess I'll just expand on that. For me, what grounds me in, like like Gail said, the only constant in life is change. And so we got to accept that and deal with it and embrace it, really. And so for me, my daily spiritual practices ground me to be centered in what I know is beyond all change, which is God or spirit. And so just centering myself and doing my practices where I get really solid and identified with that divine nature of who I am, that allows me to walk through my day and any changes that might come up. And, like Cheryl said, stuff comes up and for me, especially, I can get pulled into the drama or to the action of the world. But I always be the observer, as Cheryl said, and I just choose to live a mindful life. That's my mantra. I am dedicated to living a very mindful life. So if I do get pulled into the swirl of the change, I am aware of what's going on inside of me that might be upset by it or reacting to it. And then I do my work to get myself back into center, to remind myself who I am as a divine expression of God. And that grounds me and allows me to walk through change with openness, with receptivity, with just seeing that it is all divine right action and order. Mm-hmm. So on that note, I'm the Q&A today. So I just wanted to say hello to Teresa and Wayne, who have already made their presence known to us. Hello, both of you. And Wayne, I do see that you posed a question, and we'll talk about that later since we're in our introductions right now, but we can all see what fosters a living faith in oneness individually and collectively. So we'll jump into your question after we get started. So William, what do you have to say about our question today that you posed to us?
First off, all those answers are aspects of what and how I deal with any given situations. It's funny to be the observer of your own thoughts. I crack myself up sometimes going, really, you thought that, or you responded like that, or you reacted like that? But for me, you can't unlearn what you've learned. And so even though, like Cheryl, there may be something that kind of throws me off kilter a little bit, I recognize it very quickly and I center myself back in. Because I know that the thoughts that I have or the beliefs that I have at any given instant is a prayer. Because we are always connected to source. Every single thought is a prayer, and there is cause and effect. So I find myself being very mindful about my thoughts so that I can have a more peaceful life, a more abundant life, a more prosperous life. So knowing that I am the architect of my life through my thoughts, and knowing how spirit works, the universe, whatever you want to call it, again, it doesn't matter what you call it, it just does. And that's the key that keeps me in the flow of spirit, knowing that I am always connected to that source. That regardless of what's going on, my thoughts create my reality. And so I'm more so to keep myself in check about what I'm thinking when I'm observing things around me. Now, with that said, there's been a lot of stuff going on. And what's been going on is we are now in the orange category in California. Now, I'm not paying too much about, yeah, exactly. Let's do a dance. But we've always said here that we had to wait to where the county, the state allowed us to be at least 50% capacity. And that's what that orange tier represents. So when that came out the other day, the wheels at the center, bringing out the scrub brushes, making sure everything's clean, so that we may open. I don't know exactly when that day. There's no exact date as of yet, but I have heard through the grapevine that sometime next month is we are planning and making preparations for us to actually start having service at the center. I'm very excited about that. With that said, last Sunday, Easter Sunday, we had a unique opportunity at that point. We had Dr. James Mellon actually do and perform service from our stage, from our center, being broadcast out to the world. And I can tell you, as one of the people behind the scenes, it was wonderful to be able to turn on the stage lights, to have the mics, to have singers up there. And if you have not seen Sunday service, I encourage you to go and watch it. It was an amazing service. We are very blessed to have Dr. James as a guest speaker throughout the upcoming months. And so I wanted to talk about that, how, again, life is unfolding perfectly through divine right order over the past few months. Everything has led us to right here. Now, I try to see the good in all things. And even through this year of isolation, I like to look at it as an opportunity to appreciate relationships and friends and the opportunity to get together. Sometimes I've been very lax, or, oh God, we got to go see these people again. I just want a Friday off, or something like that. I mean, I'm sure that we've all had those type of thoughts. But now I'm so very thankful that I have friends that say, come on over. We're serving dinner. We'll be out in the backyard. Create that camaraderie. I'm absolutely loving it. And so divine right order, seeing it and being appreciative of everything that I have. And I'm sure that you, as the viewer, if you look at it from that point of view, I'm sure that as we come through this, the Valley of the Shadows, as we come through, we didn't build any condos, and so we can appreciate the sunshine on the other side. So today, I just want us to talk about each of your thoughts as my cohorts here. What were your thoughts about this past Sunday service? And so now I'd like to open it up to whoever would like to go next. And I'd like to hear from your point of view about Easter Sunday service.
Good morning. Thank you. There are no words, really. It was so, to me, it was almost surreal just being in the presence of others. And we practiced safe distancing and all those precautions to make sure we were all safe. And I think everybody was vaccinated that was there. But it was a joy to see people we haven't seen in a while, and just kind of picking up on with a kind of a new energy, because Dr. James was up there, and he's a different speaker and created a different service than we're used to, but it felt like home. And there was such an excitement and joy in being back together, giving the good word, and being in that beautiful state of spiritual nourishment, being in that presence that we love to be in, and being live with everybody. So I really enjoyed it. And I just want to, Wayne Baldwin, I'm going to squeeze him in really quickly here, because he's been quite communicative with us. And Wayne, we're delighted that you are reaching out to us. And the theme I see that you're speaking to today is this idea of oneness and spirit expressing by means of all of us. And I think that I can speak for my cohorts here, that we love to be that expression in the highest and most loving and most light way possible, because being in that flowing energy of God, which is what Sunday was all about. I'm going to pull it all together in one thing. Sunday was really everybody showing up in their total God nature and essence, and just lifting up and living there. And I think that is when humanity shows up in its finest way possible, when we can see oneness in all life, and we can let go of the divisiveness and the judging, and just be one with everybody at the heart level. It's such a beautiful experience. And I felt that was in my heart and in my state of being on Sunday. And we can have that any day, which, Wayne, you're absolutely right. We can always be in what you call that Christ nature. We might call it Christ consciousness, which is what Sunday was all about, rising up in that higher level of consciousness where we see oneness and we experience the essence of our spirit. So thank you, Wayne. Who would like to go next? It looks like Cheryl. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, Sunday, it's been over a year since we had a service. And I have to admit that it started, just the whole idea of the center started becoming something kind of a surreal dream, in the background, that, oh yeah, I remember when I used to do that. But then now my Sundays are so different, and everything is so different. It used to be the most exciting day of the week for me, because I loved being there, and I loved being of service, and just to see all the people that I love. And it was just always such a joy to just go to the center. And so to be there the other day, it was like there was an electricity in the air, and everyone was so happy and so glad to see each other. So it's been so long since we've seen some of these people, and it was such a beautiful experience for me. I mean, at one point, I think I was standing up dancing because everybody else was. I don't even remember doing it, but Mimi was next to me, and she's hitting me like, "Hey, slow down," But it was, I just had this sense of belonging and being where I was supposed to be, and even had reached the point where, I don't know if it'll ever be the same again, but it won't, and I know that, and it's not supposed to be, because that's what life is all about. It's about change. So I don't know how it's going to show up. I don't know what it's going to look like when it's all complete and when we are all in one place together. But I know that it's going to be the perfect thing that's supposed to unfold. And I'm just excited to see how it happens and what's going to go on. It's another new excitement to look forward to. So I guess after Dale is, who's going to go next? Oh, William, go for it.
I'm not, unless Gail wanted to say something, but I didn't see anything. We've been talking about how we at CSL were experiencing this past Sunday, but we also, this was the first Sunday where we had two different centers combined into one service. And I'm starting to get some God bumps here now. But to have GTC, Global Truth Center, and their backup singers and their practitioners and reverends show up and be part of this service, to where it's not just Palm Desert had a service, it's Westlake and Palm Desert. As far as I'm concerned, we are now family. As family, as decades together. I feel a connection to Dr. James, that center over there. I've only been there once, but I'm telling you right now, I'm planning on being there next Sunday, because the idea is Dr. James is planning to be ping pong or tennis ball 1 week in Palm Desert, 1 week at GTC. So next week he's going to be back at his own center, and I cannot wait. In 14 years, I don't think I've been to another center, because I've always been in the back of house doing lights. So it's going to be very exciting to be able to go to another center and to be an actual congregant sitting in a chair, to be able to experience it. So again, the idea and knowing that this past Sunday was a marriage, a bringing together of a more inclusive family. And that's what we're talking about here. And this philosophy, this faith is based in principle that we are all the same. We are all nothing less than the totality of spirit expressed in the individualized humanness of ourselves. And to be able to see that and experience that, it brought my faith and my relationships and opened my heart to more than just Palm Desert. It's no longer just my faith in Palm Desert out in the world. It's Westlake, Palm Desert. It's everything. It's everyone. Every person I come across is a teacher. Every person is a student. There is always this flow of information, this flow of love. And that's what this past Easter Sunday really brought into my frontal cortex, my frontal thoughts, is bringing again. Sometimes you say things over and over again, and it becomes second nature, to where then it's almost you don't even think about what you're saying. But this really brought consciousness of my thoughts back into the forefront of what I'm doing here. It was wonderful. And if anyone, Gail, I would love to hear from you. You've been so quiet and so patient so far today. So let's hear from you, Gail.
Okay, thank you, William. And I've really enjoyed what all three of you have said, and I couldn't express more deeply that my feelings are very, very similar. I thought I would just bring up a couple of different things to kind of explore with our Sunday service. And I think the first is, I just really want to express my gratitude for Dr. James Mellon, who came in and was willing and came in as a true star as a guest speaker into our center. That with our beloved Dr. Joe's recent retirement, having Dr. James come in as a guest speaker, particularly on such a very, very special Sunday, which was not only Easter Sunday, but it was the very first Sunday that our center has had a live service since the pandemic shut everything down. So I think for me, that was even more expansive than the fact that it was an amazing Easter service. But I just really want to thank him because of his energy around this and his consciousness around it, we were able to have this wonderful service with him as a guest speaker. So I really want to thank him for doing that and all that he's doing to support the consciousness of our center. And, I loved in his talk on Sunday, and I echo William. If you haven't seen it, go out to YouTube and listen to it. I love the way he brought in the story about his beloved Nora, who made her transition. And he talked about how, and we've talked today about change and how difficult change can be, especially change that we don't want to experience, right? And that happens as well. And he talked about how, you know, we live in this relative universe, this reality, this physical reality as human beings. And then there's also the absolute. And that's where he came from with his daughter's passing, is knowing in the absolute that she is exactly where she needs to be, and that she is as close to him as if she were there physically. So I loved his discussion about the absolute versus the relative. And I couldn't help but think about how that segued into our service. Because despite all the things that were going on out there, despite the pandemic and challenges within our own country and the world and our own communities, that's all the relative. And what we were all experiencing, as I think both Cheryl and Dale had described, is we were all experiencing the absolute. We were in that flow of spirit and that flow of pure love and pure divine energy. And it was palpable. It was palpable. And what it really brought home to me, with the connections with other people also celebrating our same philosophy, is that even though we were in a center and we were behind all four walls, walls don't make any difference at all. Walls are just there to provide us with a place to gather, that everyone is welcome, everyone is encouraged to share this message, share this philosophy, and to come and be supportive, which is what our center is all about. So I know I've taken us in a little bit different direction, but those were the things that were really moving through my heart, as not only did I participate in this service, but also as I reflected on it after the fact. So I think that Dale is going to follow me.
Thank you. And I'm going to take it in yet another direction, just moderately. I think what our center has been going through is just a huge testimony of being open, allowing that divine right action and order to take us into whatever it is that is emerging for us to live into. And this connects with William's opening question about change. And we're living change right now, and the byproduct of just being still, allowing, and just seeing how divine right action and order is so working perfectly. And you know, our center has seen a lot of changes with Dr. Joe's retirement, and then Reverend Charles, and then that shift, and then Dr. James coming in to assist us in our transition. And I know many of us have said, it's mind-blowing almost. Actually, not almost. It is mind-blowing how perfect the timing of it all, and how everything just came right into place at the right time and right people. And I think we're an extraordinary example of what happens when change occurs and you don't know what's going to happen and you want to try and control it, but you let go and you let spirit come forth and guide everybody and everything works out perfectly. So I just wanted to speak to that. Cheryl, go for it.
It's when we talking about the change and everything that's going on in our center, and I've had people say, well, it's changing so much. You know, what's our congregation going to be like? How's it going to change? How is it going to show up? Are they going to show up? Is everybody going to come back? Because there's all these kind of questions, because we have been down for over a year now. And so the only thing I could think of when people would ask me this question was that I don't know what the congregation is going to look like. I don't even know if it'll be the same congregation, but I know it will be the people that are attracted to this teaching, and people that through the efforts that we put out there throughout this year, you know, all the shows we've done. Oh my gosh, I think we're up to almost 70 now, guys. So shows. But anyway, all this stuff and all the work that we have done in the background while we have been closed, I think is going to make a tremendous difference. That there are going to be people that we haven't seen before at the center that are going to show up, but they're going to know who we are because we've been out there trying to, keep promoting what we're doing. Because I know that each and every one of us right here in this little room, we know that God's in action, and we know that it's going to turn out perfectly. And it's just such a great feeling, not knowing how it's going to show up, but that's what your prayer is supposed to be. You put the prayer out there, your treatment, and you say, this is what I desire. And then you have to step back and let God decide how it's going to show up. You can't sit there and say, oh, this is how it's going to show up and this is how it's going to be. So I don't know how it's going to be, but I know it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be great. So why I'm not even concerned about it. And, I would love to see the people that have been there in the past still return. But if they don't, then I know that they're on their own journey and they're taking a different pathway. And I just know that who does show up, they're ready for this journey and they're ready to walk this path that we've been walking for so long, the four of us anyway. So, but it's just, I think it's exciting. And yeah, there could be drama around it and people are asking questions and stuff, but that's when I said, when there's drama, sometimes you just have to sit back and become the observer. And I just know it's going to be great. That's all I know. So who's going to be next? William, go for it.
Wow. I just lost my train of thoughts. Oh, that's okay. If you've ever thought, how do I know this stuff works? What we teach at the center. All I have to do is tell you, just watch how this center and this past week has unfolded. Excuse me, I got a little itch. That is a great example of divine right action. If you ever needed an example to prove to yourself that spirit is always there, always working for your highest and best good, what better example than your very own place of worship? I'm telling you what, that's something very powerful. If there was ever a doubt or in your mind about spirit and how it works, I'm telling you right now that we as practitioners here can see this as nothing less than the perfection of spirit unfolding. We, the humanness, our experience here, we couldn't imagine, we could not have orchestrated something like this. Puzzle pieces, ideas seemingly came out of nowhere. But that's exactly how spirit operates. From the nothingness to the, as Dr. Joe puts it, the soup, the spiritual energy, the soup of where you think that there's nothingness. And Dr. James talking about even between the branches of the trees is what supports and keeps the tree alive in its form. In that soup of nothingness, form comes into action. Again, with the God bumps. I'm loving this. This is so again, today with the four of us here, all for one, are here to be a testament to the perfection and unfoldment of spirit. If you're new to spirituality, if you're new to new thought, or you just want to expand your consciousness in your mind, and there's always those thoughts that you've had in the back of your mind, but you've never really explored them. GTC and the CSL are places that you can come to ask those questions that you may have thought that were a little bit too out there to be able to ask. I grew up with a saying from my granddad: there's no stupid question. There may be stupid answers, but there's never a stupid question. If you have questions about life, about your life, or about life in general, we are here as practitioners to help you find those answers. You find those answers within yourself. And I think all three of my friends here will definitely be shaking their heads saying that yes, all of life, all of spirit is within each of us. We don't tell you what to think. We just teach you how to think. And this past week has been such an inspiration to me that I am ready to help those who raise their hand, who call the center, or who just walk past me on the street and just say, hey, I'm ready to be here for you. I'm here to be available to all. Now, Gail, what do you have to say about that?
Wow. Well, thank you for the wonderful lead-in, William. You know what I'd like to say is that I think all of you can tell that all of us are, to use William's word, totally inspired. We are totally inspired by what we have experienced over the last few weeks. And I want to say that and also acknowledge that there may be individuals in our audience that are experiencing the angst of change. And I want to recognize that, and I want to honor that. And I want to share with you that all of us are always available to listen and to exchange and to share information with you. We're always here for you. Change is hard for all of us. And, you know, our beloved Dr. Joe is loved by so many. And the energy that he brought to our center is, of course, second to none. And so I just wanted to share with you, you know, kind of how I have thought about this change, because this change has been a lot for me too, a lot of change over the past year. And what I've really learned is to try to think of change as simply a messenger. It's really a spirit sending me signs that I don't want to ignore simply because that change isn't exactly what I was expecting. And I'm really good at doing that. I've really been known to do that if that change isn't what I was expecting. But I've come to understand that change is how we grow and evolve. And that is the basis of our teaching. It's not to stay in one place. It's to grow, it's to expand, and it's to evolve. And sometimes change has to shake us up a little bit to get our attention. And all this change is a bit of a shakeup, I'm going to be honest. And sometimes it feels like change is destroying the old when we love the old. When sometimes what happens is for us to grow and evolve, the old needs to move aside. Maybe it's not being destroyed. I don't think it can be. But the old needs to just move aside to make space for that which needs to emerge. And I have a sense that this is exactly what our center has been experiencing. And the old has been moved aside, and it's simply to make space for all that needs to emerge. And we know whatever is going to emerge is going to move forward. So with that, I'm going to move it on to one of my cohorts, and I think it's going to be Cheryl.
Oh, yay. You know, when you talk about change and yeah, it's scary, a little bit scary, because we get into this complacent place where we know the pattern of our life, or we've created this pattern that we are comfortable in. I would think that nobody would want to create a pattern that would make them uncomfortable, but I do know people that do that. So, you know, it just depends upon where your consciousness is. And so, but change has always had a bad rap, but it's actually every second of every day you're changing, constantly changing. Your body's changing. New cells are forming and old cells are dying off, and you're not even aware of that change. So it's just kind of, I think that it's very difficult at times for us to embrace change. And I think that, Gail, you stated that so beautifully, that it's nothing to be afraid of. It's something that we need. And it's like Ernest Holmes said when he wrote the Science of Mind book. He said in 50 years, and this was something that Dr. James quoted on Sunday or recently to me, and he said, in 50 years, if we're still teaching the same old teaching, then the whole point of this teaching has been lost on you. It has to grow. It has to keep continuing to grow. And what we understand now is that, and what he said is that one day science and religion will embrace each other, because we will understand that the science will catch up with what we've always known, that it's all one thing. And that's what quantum physics is showing us. And I love this idea that we're going to be expanding our minds and looking at this teaching in a different way, not to negate it or anything like that, but to bring it into life, make it alive, make it current, make it something that really resonates within us. And so that's the excitement of this of change that I see going forward. And it's very exciting to me, even though it is, yeah, I admit it's a little scary. It is. So Dale, I think you're going to go after me.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to acknowledge Wayne. If you're watching our show, he's had many insightful little ditties that are very inspiring. So Wayne, thank you for posting all of those. Lots of cool stuff. I guess I just want to keep going with this point about change, because, and I love that you and Cheryl both spoke to the idea that the discomfort of change. And for me right now, something I've been very present to is the discomforts of life, and coming to a place of accepting them. And yes, life is about growth and transformation. And I just had to say to myself, you better buckle up, Buttercup, as my friend William would say, because this is life, baby, and get used to it. And it's a good thing, because especially being in spiritual community, because we hold each other during the discomfort stage of change. And since our whole community has been experiencing the uncertainty, it's been great leaning into each other, because we all need that support. So it's been really nice to come together, express what we're feeling, and just hold each other in prayer, and just knowing that everything really is unfolding absolutely perfectly, which we're really seeing it very visibly right now, especially. But I guess my love for our whole community is there to just know with you that anything you're going through in your own life that's uncomfortable, that's involving change, that for me, what really helps is to know that there are stages that I go through with change. And there are a lot of people that have written about that. And it helps me to understand what's going on, so that I see the normality of it, and that with each stage comes a beginning and an ending and a higher place to come to. And so I just kind of want to remind us all of that, which I know Gail speaks to that as well, that we just have to go through each stage of this. But I think the end result is transformation and growth, which is really what it's all about. So I think who's going next? Is it William? Are you following me?
Sure. I wasn't planning on it, but what the heck, if I'm going to tell people to buckle up, Buttercup, I better make sure I do it to myself as well. I tell you what, yes, definitely this past week has lit a fire under my ass. There's a new drive that I have. I am definitely inspired. I'm inspired that we talk about one community and one life. And again, to go back in, that we have now two centers of this philosophy, of this thinking, that there's one life. You hear about other centers and other places of worship, but they always seem outside of yourself, because you're in your own little world, your own little bubble. But to have this other center, to have Dr. James come and be a guest speaker, really opened up my world. I'm very excited about all the changes. I love what I do at the center. I love being back of house. It would be nice to be front of house, but it's fun, and the excitement of putting on a show, a Sunday show, at times is very demanding. It gets your heart rate up because you've got to hit the marks, and like Dr. James and even his husband Kevin, they're both actors. They're theater, and they've got to hit their marks. And I, as back of house that does the lighting and does the videos, I've got to hit my mark every single time. And sometimes it's a challenge because changes come up. But again, seeing that there are now 2 centers that in my mind were separate have now come together and created a family makes me realize that I if it's true in the finite or the micro, it's true in the macro, and vice versa, which is actually technically more right. It's true in the macro, it's true in the micro. So as I see 2 centers that I saw as separate become one, I now see again, and it's more in my face, that where I see individuals walking around me and living their life where I thought that they were separate from me, I now recognize that they are one with me. So as I see 2 centers coming together, I see myself being open and more responsive and more receptive to the idea that there is no individual person outside of myself. There's only the individualized cloak over my own heart, over my own eyes, seeing what appears to be separation. But now I can see that that veil is lifted, and I see the oneness in all life. And again, as we, as practitioners here, and as you, as the viewer, as a congregant, have any type of concerns about change, we are here. We are definitely here to help you work through that. I am just so very thankful for this day and for this opportunity. And I know that we're starting to wind it down, so I'm not exactly sure who's in charge of bringing us in for our land, the approach. All right, it's Reverend. It's practitioner Cheryl.
Goodness. So as we bring this to a close, I just want to see if any of my cohorts in this show would like to say any final things about what was going on or what we spoke about. Everybody good? Okay. So this week at the center, we have a really exciting lineup. This is the announcement phase of our show. On Monday, we have our guest speaker, Dr. James Mellon, and his program is called Work It Out. So join us for that. That's at 10 o'clock. Everything occurs that's live stream is at 10 o'clock in the morning. On Tuesday, we have Dale Olansky. She's doing I like to call it our Tuesday opportunity. No, you're not. Oh, I'm sorry. She just did the Tuesday opportunity. It's my turn actually. And God. And the title of mine is going to be, it's perception versus perspective. So if you'd like to join me on Tuesday, please do. And then Wednesday, we'll have our All for One again. And then on Thursday, we have a book study with Dr. Laura at 10 o'clock. And Friday, we have Spirituality at Ground Level with Jeff Harrison. It's a really interesting show. And then we have Gail Morton will be doing our guided meditation on Saturday. So as you see, we have all different kinds of things. We also have our Social 8, which is on Thursday. It's just giggles and laughs, and that's about it. And then we also have our Power of 8, which was this morning, and I actually did that. That was a beautiful, beautiful session. So please just join us anytime you'd like to join us. Just look on the website, and you'll see all kinds of great things going on. Okay, and so this is the time when we like to ask you to please continue to support us. And if you're new to our center or you haven't attended our center, just if you want to give and show what this does for your life. In other words, when you receive this good information or this things that change the way you think and the way that you feel about life from all these different programs, please consider giving where you're fed. Give to the center if you would, please. And there's all different kinds of ways. You can go online, you can call the center, you can, there's just all different things that you can do. You can mail a check, snail mail, that's fine. So, all right, so now then, the other thing is that we are now in the process of this big growth. So think about coming and joining us on Sunday. It'll be a lot of fun once we open up. You'll see what a wonderful, joyful place that it is and why we're so fed by it. So I'm going to close this out now, and let's just all get comfortable in our seats and just know that today, in this moment, it unfolded in perfect divine harmony. That what needed to be said was said, and that all the opinions and the expressions and the words resonated with each and every one of us. The teachers became the students. We became one in our effort, in our grace, and our appeal to spread this message, to let everyone know what a beautiful, beautiful thing this is. And that the path is now open to each and every one of us. Everyone that is now present, you are now watching and observing God in action. And so just know with me that everything is in perfect right order. And with grace and ease, I release my word, knowing that it is already in the mind of God. And so it is. Amen. Bye, everybody.